All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Let's do a sound check, audio, visual. Let me know if you guys could see everything. Just let me know in the chat. I'm getting some stuff set up here on my end. Slowly but surely. Running a couple minutes behind. That's okay. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Test Mike B. Sounds good. Man, it's always nice when everything works the first time, right? Slow markets. Yeah, it's a little bit slow on my end. I just getting home, looking at the markets. I had a great day in the New York session. Now it's time to see if we could get that to continue on slow markets tonight and then maybe even tomorrow. Getting some things set up on my end. So give me a moment, guys. Yeah, it's raw. You guys get to join us, and you guys get to see all the raw behind-the-scenes stuff in terms of me getting things set up, me going back and forth with the Topstep team. We have some good stuff to come up. Also, while we're waiting and while I'm getting everything set up, the markets are closed Thursday night, so there will be no slow markets Thursday, unfortunately. However, taking away slow markets for Thursday, we're going to go ahead and I have a nice surprise for you guys tomorrow. So I will highly recommend, and for everybody who joins my slow markets consistently, to make sure you are here tomorrow for slow markets. Hoops Sunday night? No, it's a holiday this weekend. We're going to enjoy a nice 3-day weekend, and so I'm definitely not going to be thinking about the markets or having any type of class. Yeah, we'll see. All I can say right now is make sure you show up to slow markets tomorrow. And I think that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to tell, and I'm not going to repeat it until the end of this class, because there's only 345 traders here, and I 100% know you guys are the loyal group. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm Coach Dakota. So welcome to Slow Markets. As always, we're going to be analyzing the live markets, and I'm going to type in our YouTube chat here, our Topstep risk disclosure. Anything I say and recommend is purely for education only. The worst thing I like to see and what I do not like to see is when someone sends me a message saying, hey, I tried to take the trade you showed and I didn't do well. I blew up my account, so and so forth. All the trades that you see is the way I actually trade. Most of them are not my exact trades, right? It's not exact. It's a trade concept. It's my trading style. You guys see me trade in and out every single night. And as we're talking, I'm actually short on Nikkei. Man, Nikkei's been an interesting thing. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have a stop loss up here. So here's my short on the Nikkei. This is my 3 express funded accounts. You guys could see that. I've got the balance right up to just about 8,000 now. I had a good day yesterday. Short Nikkei. I might just pull off one for a little bit of profit. We'll see. I did place a trade earlier, just in and out. Not too great. I'm going to follow this, and I will continue to talk about this. But let's go ahead and let's talk about the Nasdaq first and foremost. Nasdaq was a great trade. Nasdaq was good to me today. Let's see. I do have the Nikkei. The Nikkei is going to be up here on my other chart. And so if something does happen, if I decide to get out of it, I might just go ahead and close out some for profit. We will see how it is acting. You know what? Actually, I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it right now. Let's see if we could get a nice. Let's see if I could get filled right here. Like I said, this is my express funded account where I can get a payout. I didn't have time to get into my live. I usually do my entry on my phone with my live account. Let's see if I could get filled here at 44th. Let's go. Let's see. 44.40. Let's see if this will fill me there. And yeah, anyway, and as I go through my class, and if you don't already know, feel free to ask any questions. I will get to them as well as I can. I do have an amazing team who is helping me out. If I do miss any questions, they typically send me the good ones. So if you do ask a question, make sure it is good. And while I'm at it, let me go ahead and ask everybody in here a question, or at least do a poll. Are you new? Or maybe, what would be a good question? How many slow markets have you seen? So let's just go ahead and do this. Have you seen, is this maybe you're new here? 1 to 3, or we're going to go 4+. And it looks like we did just get filled. Locked in some profit, and we're going to hold one. So this is a really nice trade to start the slow markets. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my risk. And so that way, I mean, that was a good 4-to-1 risk reward type trade where I got in. I had one contract here, got into my second one here, right near the tops. And let me just talk about this night real quick, since this is on my chart and I'm trading this live in front of you guys. And I'm going to jump out and I'm going to talk about what I'm looking at, why I entered this trade, because that's definitely the thing that a lot you guys are always asking me. Why did you take that trade? How'd you get in? How'd you get out? So if we look at a 60-minute chart here on the Nikkei, we all know it's been on a big rally since March. We rallied up. We got this nice pullback. We had this pretty good sell-off, the end of last week. We had a rally, and this is, to me, a major resistance zone. We broke through that, and we came up. We tested it once. Support became resistance. And then sure enough, we didn't have a great day here in the United States and the U.S. markets. We had a bit of a sell-off near the end of the day. And over here on Nikkei, we started rallying up. And I'm like, okay, well, if there's going to be an opportunity, let's see if there's a cheap trade to the downside. And immediately the first thing I looked at was, look, there was a double top right here, and we sold off yesterday. Well, we rallied right up to that zone, and it offered me a great cheap trade where I could risk, maybe $100-$200, and my reward could be upwards to maybe even $1,000 if we continue to sell off. I might just peel this one off at the bid and be done with it and be in and out. And that was just 5-10 minutes in front of you guys, and already up about $1,500 to start my evening. So yeah, that was a fast start to slow markets. While this one's pending, let me go ahead and transition over to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq was good to me today. Very much, we're kind of just consolidating on the daily chart. Very much, if you guys could see here, back at the end of February, where we did have this rally up. We broke all-time highs, and then we kind of just consolidated in a bullish flag pattern. Very similar. What did we just do? We broke to all-time highs, and we're kind of consolidating in a bullish flag pattern maybe. And so this is something that I was looking at, and something that I've had in the back of my mind as I'm trading, is we might continue to consolidate until we get in a breakout, very similar to what we got here. Market loves to repeat itself. So I am definitely going to be looking at this as we continue. Doesn't mean that we'll work out, no, but if we do start to break out, I have a reference. I mean, it's just relatively recently that I'm going to be watching, whether it's a news event, whether it's just some type of new data that come into the markets that push us in one direction or the other. The next option is maybe we get some negative news, where if we do sell off, maybe we come right back down to these lows and we test this. I'm not sure what will cause this to come down there. Maybe some hot inflation, some type of worldly event, or maybe we just have a technical sell-off. Not 100% sure, but this is something that I'm going to be watching. This flag, this consolidation, whether we're going to break up and have a continuation to new all-time highs, or we sell off and we go back right down to the bottom of where we were, in March. That being said, let's go ahead and look at a 60-minute chart. And let me get it cleaned up for you guys. So here's a 60-minute chart on the Nasdaq, and I mean, sure enough, I mean, we made a lower high. Like, maybe is that something we could look at, where these were the highs, the beginning of March, mid-March. We're now getting to the end of March. We made a lower high. We went and we tested 18,600. We failed to break above that, and sure enough, we sold right back down to the bottom. And we found support where there was prior support. Pretty much earlier this week, we had a lot of support come in here, and we rallied off of it. And now we sold right back down into that. And so I'm going to be watching for us to have either, what do we want to call it, catch a bid, find some buyers, and maybe push back up towards, the 550s, maybe 600. Or do we just fail and break below this and start to come test these lows that we were looking at the daily, right? This is the daily. And if you guys imagine what the daily looked like, this was the rally on the daily chart. And right now, ever since the FOMC rally, this is that flag pattern. So you can imagine what it looks like on the daily. And we zoom in to the hourly chart, and this is what it looks like on the hourly. This is that flag pattern where we're consolidating, we're slowly going down and to the right. And so what's going to cause this market to change? And I think it's going to need to be some type of news, some type of new event to happen in the market for us to break out of this, doldrum, this stagnant market that we're currently in this week. Until then, we must trade the price action that's in front of us. And, given that, and I think I'm pretty happy with myself today in terms of not holding a bias. And let me show you why. I mean, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with giving yourself a pat on the back. Rarely do I ever do that, but I'm pretty proud of how I traded today with a non-biased, and I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to go over that, where I was going into my trading New York session just looking to buy the dip and with a long biased and just trying to get in longs, and then I transitioned into getting into shorts. So that was something that I was really happy to see once I was done with the day, to look back at my day and say, you know what, I was buying the dip. I got in some longs. If you guys joined me during the power players, I was long on the Nikkei, not Nikkei, on the Nasdaq. I got in long on the Nasdaq. Let me just mess up this chart and show you guys all this data. Well, some of it was in my live account, so it won't really match up. But essentially, I got in long around here on the 5-minute chart, and I closed it out. I don't know where. Actually, this is wrong. I was long here on the 5-minute chart, and I ended up closing right about here. And that was my long, and this was my trade that I had during my power players, and this is what brought me a lot of profit. I got in at 544, I believe, and then I closed it around 573, somewhere in this zone is where I closed it out. I'll have to hop into my live. I just don't want to be switching in and out of accounts right now. I'm going to trade on my express funded. Maybe once I do that, I could drop back. Or you could just go watch Topstep TV during power players, and I walk through this trade in and of itself. So I had this. It was great. We did sell off, and I got into another long around here. This one was a really quick scalp. It was something like this. And then I transitioned to a short-sighted bias. I wanted to be a long, I wanted to be a bull, and I was looking for us to, maybe come up and have an option, maybe have an option to run towards 18,600 again. However, we failed. I closed out that long. I looked for maybe a little bounce. I just barely got lucky, and I got out of that. I tried to get in short right here. I took a loss, and then ever since then, I was looking for a breakdown to 500. If you guys are watching Topstep TV, you probably seen me in the YouTube chat. I didn't catch this whole move down. I really wish I should have, or I could have, but we were getting near the end of the day, and I just didn't want to be in a position. But I switched after I made $2,000 in my live account. I switched over to my Express funded account. And let me see if I could show that here, because I'm in my Express funded account, and I think I could show that. Here comes the, here's my trading for the day, as ugly as this looks. So we broke down. I switched to a bearish bias. This was some of my scalps that I was taking, but here's what I was doing. A lot of my trades was on the 5-minute chart. I was building a short position. I got into, I think at max 3 contracts short. You could go through this. I may take a screenshot, whatever. You could double check. But I started to short these highs. And then I was looking for a breakdown to 500. We finally started to get this breakdown. I held 2 contracts. Obviously, you've seen I was a little bit of a paper hands, and I closed out with 1 for here. And then we got the break, and I closed out 2 here, unfortunately. And then we got that huge sell-off after I closed my shorts. Oh well, I mean, you can't catch everything, right? That's probably a good lesson on why I should be trailing it. I just closed them out, and I was done for the day. I was happy. I ended up today just over 2,000 in my live. And then just over 8,000 in my Express funded accounts. So, a total of a 10K day for me. And so I was more than happy just to close this and be done and be finished for the day, as you guys could imagine. Ooh, okay, now here's where we're at. We had that huge sell-off, and now we are just consolidating. And let's go ahead and start with going in for tonight. So where are we at on the Nasdaq? Where could we possibly go, and how could we take advantage of it? That's what I'm thinking of right now. Let's go here. I think we might get some more downward pressure. And the reason being is one or two things are going to happen, right? We're either going to, this is either going to be, and I just got closed out of my Nikkei trade. So I finished that Nikkei plus about $1,700. I'm done and out of that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And maybe we'll touch base on that one again. So back to what I was saying. We got that sell-off near the end of day today. And so I do think that there is a possibility for a continuation down. And now the first area that I am looking at is it's more of a zone, and it's very basic, very simple, right around 350. This is a decent sized zone where we could see a continuation down to. Whether we want to be getting in short on a pullback and then looking for a continuation down there, or if we want to wait and then we're going to be looking for a buy off of this. We're kind of in the middle. I don't want to be long or short right now because essentially if we're looking at it from a risk perspective and we're looking at the daily, right? The daily, we're still in a bullish market, and the Nasdaq is still bullish, of course. So on a longer term perspective, and a longer term perspective for us being, weekly, monthly, I'm still bullish. And we're kind of in the middle where if we're thinking about risk, I don't want to be long right here because long, We definitely have the option to come back down and test these lows, so it's a bit hard to manage risk to the long side. Maybe to the short side, we have a better risk reward where we could look at maybe getting short something like this, having a decent 3-to-1, 4-to-1 risk reward, and maybe leaving a runner on overnight to see if we can have a nice sell-off, where there's been plenty of times where we wake up and the Nasdaq is down 0.5%, and we're looking to 18,300s, because this is very possible, right? Whether we want to get in using a limit order and have a stop something like this and then take profit here or somewhere down here, that's a really good 5-to-1 or better risk reward. Most likely using micros and not minis, maybe 2 or 3 micros instead of using a full mini. Or something that is a little more down the lines of a higher probable trade is using a sell stop. I don't know about the risk on this one though. A sell stop would look something like this, where we would get short if we do start to break down. The reason being is we have this wick, and this one makes me nervous, where if we do run stops, this has an immediate area where we could turn around. I would much rather us test this a couple times and have this a more, I guess, I'm trying to think of a word to say, maybe more tests on here, right? Instead of just having that huge sell-off and then bounce. I'm just very hesitant to be long or short the Nasdaq. That's kind of been what my feeling has been all week, is I'm just very hesitant on getting in and having a bias on holding trades overnight on the Nasdaq, because look at this price action. It's been really ugly price action for looking at trying to hold a trade overnight. Like, we're making higher highs, making lower lows, and then we continue to make a lower low, then we make another higher, and then it's just been ugly, right? It's been very choppy from this higher time frame perspective. And you looked at the daily is just as ugly, where we're just in this kind of consolidation. And you almost need let's just do a strategy which is designed for the choppy market, that's designed for a market that's consolidating, and that's essentially like buying down near these lows, selling near these highs, and that's what maybe I would look for. And that's kind of the play that would have been working pretty decently over this past week, and it's going to work until it doesn't, right? And I don't want I would hate for this trade to be the one where it doesn't, and I want to be taking trades to the long side, if anything, because of FOMC, right? This was FOMC, and we're right in the middle of that FOMC move. If this was the FOMC move, this looks like 50% to me. Dakota, when do you move your stop to break even, if ever? Business of Chance asks. I move my stop to break even fairly often, and I'll go over that in just a moment. Do we have any questions on the Nasdaq? On the 4-hour chart, we're still on the high side. Yeah, it's about the time frame that you're looking at, right? Because this is a 60-minute chart. I very rarely look at the 4-hour chart, but I'll look at the daily chart, and we are at the upper end on this daily chart, where if we do get a sell-off, maybe we just sell off down to 18,000 and this zone. So that is very, very possible, where we're still in a bullish market, but I'm a little less bullish here than I would be if we're down here, right? Even though we're bullish, I'm more bullish down here than I am up here, because we're talking about risk reward. We're talking about probabilities and where to position ourselves. Nobody wants to be like buying up here looking for a break to all-time highs, even though we very well could, right? Because that worked and it played out here very well, and it played out here, and we could go on and find examples of this where we're just below all-time highs, and it gives us an opportunity, and the next thing we know, the very next day we get a 1.5% rally, and we break all-time highs or something like that. Do you consider the wick and string close towards the bottom of today's candle or bullish momentum trumps the technical daily down candle strong. So I think what you're referring to is, today's candle, I think was a change of sentiment in terms of there's a lot of fear in this market I lately, and I think we've seen that in terms of, we're overextended in a lot of people's eyes. There's a lot of people who's a little bit hesitant, maybe waiting for something to happen, waiting for data. Who knows? I still believe that the FOMC was very, very positive with our GDP, with the fact that Powell was saying that they don't see interest rates going any higher. And that gives us a lot of, I guess, buffer. So if we do get some hot inflation data between now and the next time, then there's, the probability of them even considering hiking rates is less likely. And I think the worst case scenario that we do see is maybe something puts them in the mood to push out interest rate hike or decreases interest rates for longer. So instead of 3 hikes, maybe just 2. But that's still even iffy. I think we've seen, what's his name, Tuchman, that's on TopstepTV Mondays or Friday, kind of share that same sentiment, right? So it's still the buy the dip mentality. I still have a buy the dip mentality going into the day. But if when we are trading during the day, if the price action starts to break down and if something starts to show too much weakness, very similar to like today, we need to not be very, very hard-headed in terms of, Peter Tuchman. Did I say Tuchman? Peter Tuchman, yes. So, I think I'm going to continue to buy the dip and go into the Nasdaq on my New York session with buy the dip mentality, but be very cautious. It's not going to be very aggressive, but it is going to be in areas of high probability trades. Very much like today, maybe if we do get a sell-off and we do start to get around here, then I would be fine buying the dip in these zones. So it's essentially going into the day with a plan to buy the market at areas of support and maybe even breakouts when we break out of resistance, rather than going in like, oh, we're negative, we could sell off because the overall market's still bullish. However, very much like today, if we do start to break down like this, something that I was looking at, this is a 60-minute chart, and you've seen me do the analysis on the 5-minute. As soon as we start breaking down, it's like, okay, you know what? I need to not be as aggressive and just be buying everything, because then it's turning into just buying a falling knife, and you could get yourself into a lot of trouble. And maybe take some short trades in the opposite direction of your opinion, which is very difficult to do. I very rarely do it. I got lucky and did it today and made some good money, but I'm still in the same boat that we're just in a bullish market and we're in a bull market. And when we're in a bull market, it's very hard to bet against it, because you look at all these days, and we could always go back in time. We see these huge sell-offs, and every one of these sell-offs, the very following week, we were making an all-time high. And so we could see something like that. We can definitely see a sell-off, maybe down to these areas. And, the very next day or the very next week, we get, 1.5% green days, 2% green days, and we're making all-time highs. So definitely the momentum is still on the Bulls' court. Mike, MJ intended until it's not. Okay, so I think that's it for the NASDAQ. Can you explain how to trade off market structure? NV Celsius. The best thing to do is just come to my slow markets class, and you will see me talk about market structure a lot. And you could watch me place trades, and you can watch me place orders almost every single night, right? Why did you think it was turning bearish? NZ Trader, let me show you, because I think this is a good point. Maybe I didn't explain it very well. So here's the NASDAQ during the day. I wanted to point this out. We like to talk about patterns. This is a 600 level. This is 600, very psychological. This is a 5-minute chart on the Nasdaq. So this is very important, guys, because this is also part of what caused me to turn bearish. This is a head and shoulders. This is as clean and as obvious as it gets. Everyone sees this. You could see it. This is a head and shoulders pattern. We had that nice sell-off, and then I got in long here because I wanted to be buying the dip. I definitely was thinking we could come up and test 600 again and see. Once we failed this, that just proved to me we made another lower high, and we could continue down and maybe start to test, because I was looking at something over here. It's behind me right now, but I will move my chart. So head and shoulders, another low, right? So we're making another lower high, and we're making lower lows on the 5-minute chart. Okay, and the next area of support was right around 516 that we made the following day, and we just smashed through that, and that's about where I was looking to take profits. So now if we zoom into the daily, right, because I trade off the 5-minute during the New York session, and there was a period where I'm like, okay, I need to bail out of this trade. I closed my trade, and now I need to start, or I'm going to start looking at shorts. So let me explain in a little bit more detail for everybody. This was where I got in long, right in here, and we rallied up. It was great. You know, we had a pullback, and then we had a continuation, and essentially what I was looking for was this was a higher low, and we made a higher high. As soon as we had this big wick and we started pushing right down, we did have this 5-minute doji, or whatever you want to call this. I was looking for the Nasdaq to show support, right? Resistance right here. I was looking for us to push higher and then come back. You know, resistance becomes support. As soon as we failed that, I bailed, and we started pushing down, and we broke this low. And so therefore, you know, we no longer had higher lows. It was an official, you know, lower low. And then this just confirmed that this was now the next lower high. I hope this is making sense. It's a little, I'm going a little bit fast. And then since from there, it was just, all right, sell. You know, I'm going to look for us to break down. I'm going to start looking for targets to the downside. Nothing's guaranteed, right? Because we very well could have, and I was a little bit nervous right here because we were breaking out, and it looked like we might continue up again. However, we did get that sell off at the end of the day because, yeah, for whatever reason. So call it luck, call it whatever it was. It was a good trading day for me. And not every trade is 100%. I do know I lose more than I would like to admit. J. Powell Jr., why do you think support was there? Why do I think support was where? If we're talking about intraday, you see all these wicks to the downside? This was resistance. We broke out of resistance. Typically, when we break out of resistance and we come back and test it, resistance then becomes support. This is a lot easier to see on the 1-minute chart. And sometimes I will have something called a 100 tick chart. Here's that big sell-off. And here was the market. And I don't want to get caught up talking about the New York session, but here's why I entered. Here was that pivot, and I was looking for the market to continue. And here's that resistance, right? This is that resistance zone that we seen on the 5-minute. As soon as we broke this with this clear candle, it was just selling off. We broke this low right here. We get this pullback, and then we get this big continuation. And from there, it's just the market was barely holding on to positive. And there's an aspect, I mean, I have this number up here on the top right-hand side for a reason. It just kind of shows me, are we positive for the day? Are we negative? And as soon as this sell-off happened, we went from positive to negative. We were hovering around break even for the day on the Nasdaq. And there was a decent chance that, we gave up all of our gains in the market. And if we do start to sell off and turn negative, we could break down. So essentially, I was looking at this big mess as just consolidation. So something like this, right? And it's never clean. It's never as clean as what we would really wish it would. And then it just sold off. I closed out here, unfortunately, and then we got that huge freaking sell-off. All right, back to business. So yeah, I still think we're going to be bearish until we start to make some type of higher lows and higher highs. So I'm not sure where this could go. If I was going to place a trade, I'm not going to be placing a trade, but I think a decent trading concept that could happen is maybe we rally up into this area. I'm looking at this as a pullback. So I'm very much looking at this as a pullback, and maybe we get a continuation down. And what I would like to do is maybe we use a sell limit, and then we have a stop loss somewhere like right here. So this would be the order. I was really hoping we could kind of push a little bit further. But if this is the sell-off, we get the pullback. I would like the pullback towards some type of resistance. And I'm looking up here at these zones for resistance. And so I'd put a sell limit here. My stop loss above that resistance zone, and then I could start looking for targets further down. And so very much, what is that? That's about 25 points. I would drop down to micros, so 25 times $2, it's only $50 per micro. I would trade about 5 micros. And so I'd put a sell limit for 5 micros at, say, for example, 18,510. My stop loss, 533, and then I would start looking for some take profits, and that was what we were looking at on the higher time frame of maybe somewhere, the first one's here, maybe the second, and some down lower, and then let a runner run. So something like this, if we do get a big sell-off, then I'm able to take advantage of it. Any questions on this? I think maybe I'm sticking on the Nasdaq a little bit too much, but that's fine. There was a lot happening on the Nasdaq, and I made most of my money on the Nasdaq during the New York session. So looking for a continuation and down to the sell-off. Can you talk about when you move your stops to break even? Yeah, we can talk about that. Let's pull up the Nikkei because I just had a trade. Ooh. Wow, I got out of that at the right time, right? Let's see. That was whew, good thing I got out of that one. Let's see. I'll show you and go over this one. Yeah, I got out of that one right, huh? How's that for a take profit? All right. Well, whew, got lucky there. Don't tell me there isn't some luck involved on in these markets, man. So here's an example. When I got in short, right, I was looking for, I had this as my stop loss, and I got into 2. I think after we break down and say we were right here, I'm okay. Say if this is, I think this was my entry. Say that's my entry. This is my entry. This is my stop loss. Once I get a move past this, then I would be okay with tightening my stop loss there. And then I'll wait. Maybe if we got this pivot, maybe do this. But a lot of my trades, I just let them play out for the most part. Unless I am trading during the New York session and I'm actively watching and I'm actively monitoring my trades, then I will use, and you guys probably seen this before, I'd use a smaller time frame to drop down and then trail it on smaller pivots. For example, and I will go to the Nasdaq to show you guys how I did on the New York session. So for the 5-minute chart, I'm going to show everybody here how I trail my stop losses. Let's just say this, for example. Say I'm short here. Say my stop loss is here, and I'm looking for the market to sell off, which it did, and I closed out here, unfortunately. I should have trailed this. Typically, I would, but I was already up about $10,000 for the day, and I just wanted to just call it good. So let me show you how I properly would have trailed this. First of all, I would let's say I'm short here, and this is my stop loss, okay? What I would do is I would drop down to a 100 tick chart after we start to sell off. So I'm going to make a bubble to where my entry was. Okay, let's just say my entry's here, and let's say up here's my stop loss. I would drop down to a smaller time frame. It could be a 1-minute chart. It could be a 30-second chart. I like to use a 100 tick chart just because it zooms in for no other reason. I will not, execute a trade based off of it. I will not do anything else other than trail my stop. So if this was my entry, where this bubble is, okay, I'm going to zoom out. So this was my entry. Let's just say I had a good trade. I got in here. This is my stop. As soon as we break down, I'd move my stop loss here. And now I'd be watching my computer. I would be actively monitoring my trade. And say we sell off. Then I'd move my stop loss to the next pivot. And then I would wait for us to have another continuation. Now I wait until we break. I wait until we have a continuation. This would be my stop loss until we have a continuation. So we had this continuation, then I would move my stop loss here. This is what I should have done. I wish I would have. Unfortunately, I didn't. This was a nice sell-off. We got a little bit of a pullback, and then we get the continuation. Then I would move my stop loss here. And then I would continue to do that, and most likely I would have either got stopped out here. I probably would have got stopped out in one of these areas. That's kind of what this was a run, stop loss, and then rally. It's kind of hard to determine 100% because this isn't a great continuation. Yeah, I mean, this is where I got out anyway, right? So maybe... yeah, how would you have cut off that big sell-off, right? It's very hard to say, right? Because this is hindsight trading, and there's a lot more emotions when the market's moving and your P&L's moving versus just trailing it. But yeah, I would have either got stopped out there or there because of this break. So yeah, I think even if I was trailing it, most likely I would have been stopped out. I don't think I would have. Yeah, I think I would have had my stop loss there because maybe this was that continuation. Most likely. Yeah, I think I even got out at a better price anyway. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty dang close, right? That's really close to where I got out. So maybe I would have got, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, right? This is hindsight trading, but that's how I would trail my stop loss. Sometimes it doesn't come up and hunt, and sometimes it just sells off, right? And if we was to get in short here, right? If we short here and we do that same thing, trail it, and then it just continues down until it stops you out. And so that's one where I like to get into, multiple contracts. I could leave a runner on. I could trail it. And yeah, hope that makes sense. If not, maybe you could just rewatch it. I should have a whole 1-hour class on it. Nikkei. What is the Nikkei doing, guys? After I'm looking at the Nikkei. Sorry, guys. I'm actually considering having a thought of just getting into another short here. We'll see if I could get filled. Okay, I'm short again. This one might not be too great. I'm going to watch it. Here's why I'm getting short. So essentially the same thing, right? This is very similar to the same trade setup. There's a lot of resistance here. Here on the Nikkei, and we're right there. We're up, you know, almost 0.7%. I'm a little bit more hesitant on this one. I think maybe just one contract is good enough for me. On this one, I'm going to have a hard stop up here at first, and then I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, this is a hard stop. I'm going to watch this. This is on my just one contract. If we get any type of like a reversal or down here, this is just might be a quick trade. We'll see this. I'm a little nervous on this one, actually. If this doesn't immediately go in my favor, I might just close it out for a loss. Because we're right here in this, there's a lot of resistance. This is a lot of support. We'll see if this support mess turns into resistance. This is not for the faint of heart, guys. So we'll see. I might just end up closing this one out. Gold and crude oil. Yeah, let's look at gold while this one plays out. This is getting a little bit choppy. We're kind of just hesitating right here, back and forth. All right, let's take a look at some gold. Let's go gold and then crude oil. Gold, like I said, I'm not trading gold yet. I'm looking at it, I'm watching it, and we'll see how gold plays out. And then maybe next week I might look at some trading opportunities. With anything, it's been a while since I traded gold. As I was saying yesterday and the day before, I want to get used to it. I want to watch it. I want to see how it plays out. Yesterday, just based off the way I was trading, I think it was around here. I was like, you know what, maybe around here looks like a decent short. I would have taken that. Oh, that was an ugly loss, right? Look at that huge spike to the upside and an immediate sell down. This is the gold on a 60-minute chart. And this is very similar to what it did the other day, right? And sure enough, yeah, this is a messy market, and it is rollover too, right? Right now I'm looking in June's contract here in gold, and we had that huge sell-off, or we had the huge rally, and then we had a sell-off, and now we're kind of hovering just below 2,200, and it looks like we rejected it, right? Where we broke up, went straight back down right below 2,200. We kind of tested it, and now we are rejecting. So the way I would trade this is I would just look for a continuation down. But I was doing the same thing yesterday, and that didn't happen. So I'm going to continue to watch this. If I was to place a trade on gold, it would be to the short side. I would have done that last night. I would have taken a loss. It's just, to me, price action would say that it looks like we would be selling off. Like we had this, we broke above, rallied, and even if we want to say something like this, we broke down below that. Yeah, I'm going to watch this. I'm still going to watch this. Once rollover is done, maybe we get some better price action. Man, if you catch these moves, that's great. That's good on you. That it would be some trade if you're able to catch something like this, even on one contract. I'm going to watch it because if we do get some good risk reward trades, then of course the opportunity is there. There's always the opportunity on a volatile market. So it's still sidelined for me. I'll touch base. I touched base on it. I think that's as much time as I'm going to spend on it. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop over to crude oil, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A, and we'll finish off the night. So crude oil is starting to look relatively weak. And here's why. This is a 60-minute crude oil chart. we have a lower high on this higher time frame. The last time we seen it was somewhere right here, and we did get a sell-off. So I'm looking for something the same. I will be a buyer if we get around $80 a barrel. I would like for crude oil to sell off and get down below this area before I look to take any longs. Until then, I'm going to be hands off. If I was to place a trade, I am bearish. However, I do not want to short crude oil because crude oil, I am a bull. And I would rather be waiting to buy the dips. So that's what I'm going to do. Wait and buy the dips. See if we could get down towards $80 a barrel, or even if we peak below $80 a barrel, maybe 79.30s, 79.50s, and then start looking to get back into it and take some, slow markets or overnight longs. Trading Nikkei makes me think of the Rogue Trader movie. Trading this Nikkei, yeah, Rogue Trader, we'll see. Like I said, I'm not in love with this trade. We're still kind of hesitating right there. Down only $100, so I'm going to watch it. It's down 150. Not too big of a risk reward. This is kind of a 1-to-1 if we do get a sell-off. I'm already up, like I said, 500 per account. I'm okay with risking this. So, okay, I think that's it for me tonight, guys. Let's do some Q&A, and then we will go through and open it up to some questions. Give me just a moment. Well, maybe 1 second. Go ahead and type your questions in the chat now. There's a little bit of a delay. I need to go ahead and fix something on me. What indicators do I use for my trades? I stopped using indicators. I used to really like indicators, but I did stop. That doesn't mean there's indicators are good or bad. It's just for me, right? To me, I like to keep my charts very clean, my trading as simple as possible, and so I don't use indicators. It doesn't mean that they're not good and helpful. If anything, I do think indicators can be very helpful to give a decent perspective and to help traders out in terms of where are we going to be going, where's going to be my stop loss, in what direction. So will I recommend an indicator? No, I don't recommend an indicator. I would say maybe try something very simple like Fibonacci's or a simple moving average if you're just learning and you're trying to develop a system. But you should be able to trade without indicators. Very basic, simple price action. But I do know a lot of the Topstep team, they love the VWAP, right? Like you said, NQ, the VWAP, Delta indicator. There's so many indicators out there. If anything, I would recommend sticking with one or two. Try not to move around a lot in terms of, like, don't switch indicators every single week. If you're trading, say, a simple move average and you lose, then you switch to a different one, and then you lose on that one, then you switch. So I would say don't switch very much. Try and be consistent and focus on the risk as your priority. I don't really think there's an indicator that will help you focus on risk. Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. That's a hard one to answer. Can you explain the relationship between the dollar index and the Nasdaq? The relationship between the dollar index and the Nasdaq. I typically don't trade and have paid attention to it very much. The dollar and the Nasdaq. I mean, it does have an effect, but to me, I only look at the market I'm trading for the most part. Whether that's good or bad, maybe I could be better if I looked at those. Maybe not. I have not paid too much attention to the dollar index. What about patterns such as head and shoulder and flags? Yeah, you hear me talk about patterns all the time. In my slow markets class, we talked about one tonight. We talked about a head and shoulders that happened. We talked about the bullish flag. We talked about a few different patterns that very basic technical analysis, right? So yeah, I do like patterns. The simpler, the better. Very basic, focusing on risk. One streamer has a big view on that is my guess why he's asking. What do you mean by one streamer has a big view on that? Which indicator do you consider being a leading indicator? Price action? DOM? Or I don't know. I would say price action. The depth of the market is, to me, the closest thing I would say is a leading indicator. Has a big opinion on the Nasdaq and the dollar linked. I mean, the dollar affects the U.S. economy, right? Weak dollar, strong dollar. It does have a big effect on the U.S. economy, but it doesn't have an effect on my trading. Price action, sure. How to deal with fake outs. JPal, you just take the loss and move on to the next one. That is the best way to deal with a fake out. It's the hardest thing, but it's probably the only thing you could do when the market's giving you a fake out is take the loss, move on to the next. I do not use the bookmap. I do not use the DOM. So yeah, take that as you will. Rips. Why? Well, that one caught me off guard, Rips. I am an average trader, and that's all I'm going to say. I am an average trader who uses a very simple risk management strategy that I try to show you guys here on Slow Markets, and answer questions. Just because everyone else is not up there doesn't mean that they can't be good traders. And maybe that's, you know what? I was actually thinking about that the other day, Rips, to be honest. And here's what my thought was, is if I wasn't one of the top traders, maybe let's say top 100 traders here at Topstep, then maybe there's something wrong in terms of, I love Topstep's mentality, and I love the idea that we're here to help traders. We're here to help new traders learn how to become consistent and learn how to become profitable, right? And so it would make sense that the majority of traders here at Topstep are, relatively new, learning, trying to not put a lot of money into the market to try and learn it. And so it would only make sense to me that since I do trade for a primary income and I've been trading for, gosh, I don't even like to think about how long I've been trading for a while now. Why would I not be, right? If there was a lot of really amazing traders, then Topstep is doing really good already. And I think we're starting to see that with that leaderboard, where we're seeing a lot of great traders come on to the top 10, and we're starting to watch the trading statistics. We see some amazing traders performing really, really well in the live environment. And we're seeing that, right? And I think MP and Hoag and the team, they say that, they see it. Their goal is to find great traders, give them an environment to not risk their own money, right? Have very little expense for a great profitability, and to have a platform, right, where we could go into something amazing as a trading community, work with other traders, help other traders, and then perform So I'm happy I'm a part of it. It's, yeah. So I think that's a very tough question to answer, but I think that is the only way I know how to answer it. Is there might be something wrong if someone who trades as one of their primary incomes is not in the top, say, 50. And it's only 2 months of actually coming up on, it's 3 months worth of data in terms of sample size, right? Because everything to me, and I have a statistical analytical mind when it comes to stuff like this, is if we think of it as so, then we only have 3 months worth of data for my trading here at Topstep. And so these 3 months, yes, I am on top 10. However, this time next year, it most likely will look very, very different. You guys see traders coming on the top 10, traders dropping off. You have somebody that shows up from like 90 seconds, made like 50,000 in a day, goes to like top 3, then they drop off, and it's a very volatile list right now. And the more and more I watch it, the more and more I start to see the same names fluctuate on the top 10. And transitioning from express funded accounts to live accounts, we're going to see less volatility, and I think we're going to start to see, I would say, the top 50 traders be a lot more consistent. Yeah, there is a very long answer to your question. And you guys could tell it's something I'm very passionate about. So we shall see. Is top 10 ranked by balance or total trade history? It's my understanding that the top 10 is ranked based off of total profit, including payouts. So that means if I make 50,000, I withdraw 25,000. I will still have 50,000 that shows on the leaderboard. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. If not, then Jack or JD or the team will probably be able to answer that a lot better than I do. I'm going to leave it there. So last thing, show up tomorrow. You guys, who's ever here and who's ever been in my slow markets class consistently, show up tomorrow. I strongly recommend it. The poll was finished. It looks like I forgot to end that. We have 16% new traders. If you guys are new, I recommend subscribing to the YouTube. Is that what it's called? Subscribing onto the YouTube on this channel. I'm looking to compete with the Fast Markets team, obviously. So tune in tomorrow. You won't be... Man, I want to just give stuff away. I want to break the news, but I promise the team that I will wait. Danielle, yep, you're the one that I promised. I will keep my mouth shut. So show up tomorrow. That I pretty much gave it away. Good night, guys. I better just shut up.